Welcome back everyone to our little series about creating a small React app. Today we will be looking at routing and pages. Until now we've always been using one page, but of course a lot of web applications, well, they consist out of multiple pages. You just normally don't have just one page, but you have a lot of pages. For example, you have the list page like we have created already. So we have this page, and of course you want to click on this and then go to a little detail. So this page would be on a path named list. And then if you click on an item here, you should go to a detail page which would reside at details dot an ID or something, and then you can go there. To achieve this, we have to use a library, which is a very well-known and used library, which is called React Router DOM. We can actually look this up. React Router DOM, and we can see the entire documentation at this website. Which is also something that is used for React Native and stuff like that. So it can be used at different points also. Um, there's extensive documentation about it, so it's a very nicely maintained one. You can actually see the source, of course. We go to React Router DOM, and then you can see entire the entire library here, which is hosted on GitHub, which has a lot of stars. So it's a really nice library. How do we install it? We just install it. Let's install it first, like npm install react router DOM. The reason there is DOM behind it, that this is the specific library to manipulate the DOM. So for a website, for example, on React Native, there will be a native one, but we will only be installing the React Router DOM. And of course, we're using TypeScript, so we should use types for this one, React Router DOM. So we get every type that is related to the React Router DOM command. But before we start using this application, we should do some small refactoring, because currently it's not really nice yet to start splitting it up, because there's a lot of code still in the app component. Actually, what we want to do is separate this code, because this is the code we will be using, this list and this input view. We will put it in a different page. So what I usually do is, instead of creating the pages, which the page in React is actually just a component as well, but to distinguish them for normal components, I will just be starting a new folder. I will do pages. And then actually what we will make is a list page, which is also a folder. We create a new folder, list page. This is actually different from the list. The list is the component that shows the list, but the list page is actually the page that contains it. So what we can do is start copying some code around. We create the list page tsx, and then we get this part out. Actually, what we're going to do is just copy this. We're going to leave the header here because we want the header on every page. So let's keep it there. Let's make the list page. Actually, we have to create const list page is like this. We export the list page default, of course, and we return this without the header. And we're gonna create the list page module.css here. We will import the styles from list page module CSS. So we have the CSS here. We import the list. We will do it like this, just import it entirely. And we have the list page. We export it. We need an interface for the properties. Let's add list page with a capital P. And now we need the games and the handle add. We will actually use the callback handler mechanism here. So we will pass the games to this list page. The games will stay in the app component, and the functionality to add the game will also remain in the app component. So we just pass it here. So we have two properties, the games and the handle add. We use destructuring to get the games out, handle add, list page, props. I should use props here. See, and now we have the two properties, games and handle add, which just passes them on to the list and the input view. So it's actually 3 layers now. You have the games coming from the app, they pass it on to list page, and that one passes it on to the list component, and the handle add will be added to the input view. So now we have the list page, the properties, and the CSS. We can actually move the CSS from the list or from the app. We paste it here because it belongs here. And now we have a nice component. And what we're gonna do now is go to the app component and make sure this is replaced. We will put a div here. We will move the header on top. So we have a header on top, and then we have the container containing the page. We will have to replace this by the list page, and we pass on. Let's first import this stuff. Quick fix. We can import it like this, and then it will say that it's missing some properties. We'll pass on the games, and we will add a handle add. We will pass this method to the page. So now we actually have one page. It should still compile. There's actually not a lot of things have changed. It's actually saying it cannot compile the list page module.css. This is weird. Go to list page, cannot resolve list page module.css. Okay, of course we have to do it like this with the dot slash because it's located in the same directory, not in the root directory. So, okay, as you can see, everything works again with the nice little header here and the page, which is separated. For now, it looks a little bit weird that we do it this way. But what we want to do is make it possible to switch pages around. So we can use the React router, which I installed. But now we only have one page, so we're going to create another page. We'll call it the home page, which should be here, yes. And we will create a homepage.tsx, and we will create a style for it, homepage module.css. We will import the styles from this homepage module CSS. And what we're also going to do is create a small little home page. It will have no properties. It will just export this export the default home page. and we will return a paragraph. There is a way of generating this with emmet. Emmet, let's say ipsum. It's actually normally a shortcut for this. So what we can create is p star and for lorem, and if we extend that like this, you can get like, of course we only want one, and then we get a nice paragraph containing some random text. This is a really nice stuff using Emmet. I'm not really that acquainted to it yet. I'm still learning this, but it really speeds up your process a lot. Currently, I only know the real basics, so I still have to look it up. But it was quickly found in the documents of Emmet how to create this kind of construct, which is like a p. We say we want it 4 times, but only we wanted it once. So actually, I think it should be p lorem, and then yeah, then it generates just one paragraph here. So this is really nice. And now we have a home page containing just a paragraph. Well, we will not style the text yet. This is not really relevant to the course, but just put something in here. And now we have to make it possible to switch the pages around. We could just write it entirely ourselves, but that would be a really bad idea. That's why we're using the router. Now we have to do some serious rewriting. This is just the way that is, well, just in the default way of doing this in React Router. I just looked it up on the website. There's a lot of copying pages and stuff like that. There's a lot of copying from the page there. So it's not really something I can write out of the top of my head. So I will start copying this. Normally, what you do is always put everything into a router object. And now we can use switch, which allows us to put up several routes in this. So we put switch, do the quick fix, do a list page, but we have to put it in a route object. We say path, we say like list, and we put this in a route. We import the missing things here. And the same with the home page. We'll just use the slash, and we'll say that the route must match it exactly. So if you type in nothing in the end, then it will go to the home page. We will import this home page. And let's see, is there something wrong here? Cannot find home page. Let's start the app again. See, now we see the home page, and if we go to list, it will actually match the list with this list. It will say, okay, it has a list. Then it will go down. If we do not know anything, then it will say slash, and it will use the home page because it matches this one, this path. If we use list, it will match the other one. So now we have 2 pages. So how we're gonna do some links now. So we have the 2 pages. We're gonna create links in the header. We go into the header and start changing it around a bit. I will take out every code from the styled components. Like this. And we use the header like before with the styles. that we can use CSS modules, which is still the way I like it more. So, but let's throw away our current header and replace it with a nice one, which is like a navigation bar on top. We do div, we create a class named header. We already have this one. We will modify it a little bit. We'll create the background color, which will be a gray bar. Font size, we will change it a little bit. The flex direction, I change this to row. Every item is placed horizontally, and we'll say it is a flexbox container. Let's see, we will say class name, styles, header, and we will just use a small little header here for the class name. Class name for the header styles, we will call it a header name. Still have to create this one. The H2O store, which is like the name, the title of the store. Create a small little CSS class for this. We'll do display block color. We'll make it white because it will look pretty on the gray bar. We'll align it in the center. We'll add some padding and like this. We'll update the header name, and then we will create some links. We'll just put it in an unordered list, and we will create some list items in here. And let's see what it looks like right now, because I'm losing the focus here. So currently it just looks like this. You have the H2O the title here, and you have the two list items, which will, of course, we will not like make it look like this, but for now we will just use Nav Link. What is Nav Link? This is actually makes it possible to generate the exact links to the pages, and this is done like this. You create a Nav Link. We import the nav link like this. We do a quick fix. We import it. We say exact, which is an exact match. We say 2. We will make one to the home page. Home. And we will create one to the list page. Of course, we need to make some small modification to CSS because this is not displaying it correctly. What we can do is make it UL, say list style type none, margin 0, padding 0, overflow hidden. Let's make some pretty list items. Left. And we will display the links as a little white, and we want the text align it center and say like padding again 14 pixels, 16 pixels. Text decoration, we do not want the links to be underlined. And if we hover over them, background color, we will make it a little bit different. So if we go back, you can see now it is really nice. If you hover over it, you get change the background color to black. So it's a nice menu bar here. We can use it like this. The links will be created nicely for us. The nice thing we can use is what we want is to show which page is active, which is a really nice way of doing this. We can just create a class. We'll say like active link. We'll say font weight. We'll make it bolder, so it will be a little bit bolder. What we're gonna do is we can actually add an active class name, and we can say like styles dot active link. So when the route is active, it will use this class name. So it will actually make it bolder. As you can see, the home is now a little bit bolder than the list. If you click the list, you can see this one is selected, and you can always go back here. So this is a nice way of using the Nav Link for this to generate the links and have some features for showing that a link is active. For now, we've always used the exact paths. We just use a route for the root page, just a slash, and the slash list. And if you go back into the app component, you could see that we had two routes just containing the path for list and a path for the home page. But this is not always the case. For example, when I was talking about we want to show the details page for a certain game, we actually want a path that contains some parameters. So for example, if you go to the slash detail page and you do slash the ID, we actually want this ID to be a parameter. For example, if I do it in the browser, we would want it to handle this kind of behavior. For example, we would do like detail slash 1, 2, and it would have to handle this. Currently, it does not handle this, so it's a white page. How we're gonna do this? We're gonna create a simple new page. It's like a new page. We'll say like a detail page. A detail page. We'll make a new file, detail page tsx, and we will create we'll create some styles for it. Module.css. We will import the styles from detail page.module.css, and we create a new component, which is the detail page, and we will add properties later. Currently, we will just return a div containing detail page. What do we want to pass to this page? Of course, we want to pass a game object. So we create a detail page props. It's actually an interface, not import. We make an interface and we add the games as a property. We import this game. We do a quick fix, and now we have the game. And we pass the game like this using the destructuring. We like games from the detail page props. Now you can actually make a detail page and you can pass it a game. Of course, we're not gonna pass games. We're just gonna pass one game. This was an error, of course. Just one page, the one game we want to show. Actually, no, we want to pass it the entire array. Sorry, I was a little bit confused because this page actually needs to have the entire array so it can look it up. It can look up the game it needs. So and we export default detail page. So now we have the detail page, which contains detail page. So it's not the way to go yet. We still have to add the route for this. So we go to app and we add a route containing detail page, which passes on the games because it needs access to the games. And now I have to add a path, which you can actually use this notation. You can use detail. And then if you remember this from Express, you can actually add parameters like this, like a double point here and ID, which says like this is the parameter it will pass. This is ID. So we can actually handle these kinds of paths like this, like slash detail ID. So this will be the parameter, and the parameter will be given to the page. So now we have to adapt our little detail page. We can actually, well, let's show that we can now handle these kind of URLs. We can actually do it like this. We go like detail.to, and you can see there's like detail pages popping up, but there's no content yet. How can we handle this? We can actually go to our detail page, the TSX of course, and we can actually get them by using this kind of structure. We could say like we get the ID, and we say like use params. This is just a construct that React router DOM just passes, and then we have to put it in here what the properties are that can be passed, and we will make an interface for this interface param types. So for every parameter that comes in from the route has to be defined like this. So like ID is string, we can pass an ID. We use string here because numbers will not work for now. So we can just use param types. We say like we use params from the DOM, use React router DOM, and this line says like get the parameters. It has this kind of structure, so we know that we can accept an ID and get the ID from this. So this should be a string, and I can actually show this string ID. So if I go to this page, localhost, and I go to the detail, you can actually see that I pass the number that I'm passing here. You can actually access using ID because I used use params here. So now we can show the game. We can actually look it up. We'll say like game. We'll say games, the one that we passed here with the props. And we'll say like find game. If the game ID matches the ID that I passed, of course I have to parse this because this is a string and it will not work as a number, so I have to parse it. I will get the game, and I will now make it a little bit more friendly. It will still be ugly, and we'll say like game. If it was found, we'll do name, show the name, and this is because this one actually shows this uses undefined. We can actually say like if game return diff game not found, because if this is undefined, we do not want to handle this every time here. And what we do know that it's not undefined, so we put an exclamation mark which says like this is not the undefined. I'm certain of this because we handled this here. We do the same thing here, release here. This is a nice way of avoiding these kinds of errors because at this moment it will say like game is probably might be undefined, but we were certain that it's not undefined because we handled this here. So this is a way of handling this. And now we have this kind of sales, and now we can show our React app. It'll say game not found. I'm not sure why the game is not found. It's probably some kind of error here. It's not working here. If the game is of course not found, and actually I'm not sure if it can handle this. Yeah, okay, so like TypeScript knows, I was a little bit confused here. TypeScript actually knows that you've handled this one, so I do not have to use the exclamation mark anymore, because I checked like if game is, which actually you should do, is undefined, just one X. If game is undefined, then it should say game not found, or else it will show the game. See like the details, which is of course not styled or anything, and it will say game not found if it's not found. And now we should actually make the little things clickable here, which is easily done. We go to the list item and we say like link to, and then we create the link, we do a detail, and we do the game ID, and we close it up here. So we create a link around the cart, and now I can check if this works, and as you can see, the things are clickable again. Hello, they're clickable now. You can actually click them, see the details of the pages. So now we have used React Router to create several pages. We've created a way of navigating here through these things. We can use the detail using the parameters which we pass here, and this is like a real way forward that we did here. We made a multiple, now it's a single page application containing multiple pages actually, which is kind of well, this is kind of a weird thing to say, that it's a single page application and it has multiple pages, but it's actually the thing that every page is actually contained in this one huge blob of JavaScript, so to speak. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this session about routing. Next, we will be doing web services and context. So I will hope to see you next time.